Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your really busy Monday to come and see me and talk about topics that are really close to my heart. The strike didn't stop us. I'm really, really grateful that you're here. I know that time is a really precious commodity, so I'm always grateful when people are able to do that for me. I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you guys and what's brought me here and brought all of you guys here today and why these subjects are so close to my heart. So, I used to be an actor and a voiceover artist. I'm a drama kid. Hi, Leah. That's a film director, amazing girl. And I was just kind of going along, living my life, being an actor, being married. I'm married, I'm also a mother. Just going along, living my life. I noticed about 9 years ago, after I gave birth to my son, Jaden, I had a really traumatic birth. It was really, really bad. We ended up staying in hospital for 2 weeks. Jaden had the cord tied around his neck, and I was going in and out of consciousness, and this is all just because of neglect. I was telling the nurses that I wasn't feeling well, something was wrong, and I was just being ignored, neglect. Anyways, we ended up in hospital for 2 weeks. After I left the hospital, I got home and I was breastfeeding. I breastfed for about 3 months, and I didn't notice anything wrong. I was just going along life, breastfeeding my son, doing the same things you do, being married, being an actor. I stopped breastfeeding just because it's hard, isn't it? I was like, forget this, man, I can't, you're going to have some cow's milk. So I stopped breastfeeding, and I noticed that about 6 weeks after I stopped breastfeeding, my milk dried, and I was sitting on the sofa with my son, Jaden, just out of the blue, and I think I was feeding him, and I don't know why, I wanted to jump out the window with my son. Yeah. And this was happening for about 5-6 months. I kept this really, really quiet. I masked. My culture doesn't allow me to be very open when it comes to mental health stuff. I'm originally from a country called Angola. We don't talk about mental health. Things like postnatal depression is non-existent, so I kept it very quiet. Looking back now, I think I was suffering from postnatal psychosis because I wanted to jump out the window with me and my son. And I didn't tell a single soul, masking. I used to lock the doors and the windows at home because I was really afraid that I was going to do something. Anyways, that subsided. We're now about 1.5 years in, and I noticed, and I hadn't put 2 and 2 together at this point, I noticed that for some reason, at some point of the month, I just became really, really sad. Couldn't get out of bed for about 10 days, just bed rotting for about 10 days. Again, thinking about suicide, wanting to kill myself, binge eating, binge drinking alcohol, loads of joint aches. And this was going on for a really long time. And again, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, didn't know what was happening. Masked it, didn't tell a single soul. I was married at the time, and I can only describe that it's not anger, it's rage. The simplest thing anybody did just set me off. I would lose my shit, and I didn't know why. And I was out here just destroying my life for 10 days of the week, and then my period came, and then it's like, hi, I'm back, guys. And everybody's looking at me like, what the fuck? You was a psychopath 10 days ago. What's going on? The turning point for me came when my son was playing, and I think he dropped a plate on the floor, and I screamed at him in a manner that would really, really scared me, really, really frightening. I said, right, I need to go seek some help. Something's wrong with me, and I don't know what it is. I went to my doctors, and I was like, hey, something's wrong with me. I don't know what it is. I get really, really angry. I get joint aches. I get really suicidal. I want to kill myself for half of the month, but I don't know why. I'm just bed rotting. Can you help me? And they were like, oh yeah, you're suffering from depression and anxiety. Here's some antidepressants. I was like, okay. Took the antidepressants. 3 months. That shit made me worse. Didn't work. Went back and I was like, guys, I said to my GP, by the way, if you're not on private healthcare, you're going to see a different doctor every time you go and see your GP, and it's a different story, yeah? Went back, saw a different GP, and I was like, hey, these antidepressants aren't working, they're making me worse, so can you please give me something else? I don't think I'm depressed. I think this is something else because I don't feel like this all the time. It's only for about 10 days of the month. And they're like, no, you're depressed. Here, have a different kind of antidepressant, and here's some contraceptive pills. That will sort you out. I was like, for fuck's sake. We're now like 5 years in of me going back and forth with the doctors and thinking about jumping out my window every single month. All right, okay. I was like, okay, so I'm going to the doctors. They're doing fuck all for me. These antidepressants aren't working. Clearly there's something wrong with me. And I noticed that this is only happening sort of like around the time when, 10 days before I'm due to go on my cycle, so I start researching online. I'm like, my parents are trying to kill me. Literally, that's what I was searching. My parents are trying to kill me. Just by chance, something pops up on YouTube. It's a black girl crying her eyes out. I click on it. What's this? And it's literally like looking in the mirror. Everything she was saying, the binge eating, the joint aches, suicidal ideation, the anger, the rage, the bed rotting, not being able to get out of bed, feeling like your whole world is collapsing around you, but absolutely nothing has changed. But it's all internal. So then I go back to my doctor and I'm like, so I think I'm suffering from a condition called PMDD. He didn't have a clue what PMDD was. He was Googling PMDD along with me. I was like, oh, great, okay. I was like, can you send me to like somebody that can help me with this? And he was like, okay, I'm gonna send you to a gynecologist. I was like, okay, great, fine. Waited about 7 months, nearly a year to go and see a gynecologist. We're now like 6 years in this whole saga. My whole life's fallen apart, complete shit. Husband's left, I've left the acting career. Everything has fallen apart. Like everything has fallen apart. Like, okay, I go and see the gynecologist, get loads of blood work done. I get an ultrasound. They're like, oh, look, you've got 4 little fibroids there. I'm like, girl, listen, not today. Let's do all the fibroids at different times. This is too much, okay? Loads of blood tests. Lucky for me, I went to a private hospital. They sent me to a private hospital. It was a 7-month wait, but it was a private hospital, and I got all of my results done on the same day. Then I, after doing all the tests, sat down with a gynecologist, and he was like, yeah, but you're suffering from PMDD, you're not crazy, you're not a psychopath, there's nothing wrong with you, but this is what's happening. Every month, progesterone drops, and then these are the effects that, you know, I just started crying. I cried for like 10, 15 minutes, just sitting there sobbing, going, fucking hell, there's an answer to this. And then I was like, okay, great, so what are you going to give me? Well, what are you going to give me? Are you going to give me injections? Are you going to give me some tablets? What's the cure? He was like, no, sorry, you know. Your options are, you can go on contraceptive pill. And I was like, well, no, that's not going to work for me because my system doesn't like it. We can put you on a chemically induced menopause. I was like, fuck right off, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. He was like, or we can remove your ovaries. And I was like, you mean to tell me these are the only options that I have? Are you like, are you for real? I don't even know if you mentioned HRT or not. I can't remember. I was in such a daze. It's almost like having an out-of-body experience because I thought there was going to be a solution. And from what he was telling me, the options that he was giving me they didn't work for me. Anyway, I leave thinking, okay, I have this condition. The options that they're giving me are not viable. This is happening every single month. What are you going to do about this, Celia? So I gave myself 48 hours to cry and be miserable and be sad. And I said, all right, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to do something about this. So I went on a manic research and learned what amygdala was and microbiomes and neurotransmitters. I went on a crazy research and I completely changed my diet, all of my diets. I stopped drinking, started working out, and I saw a massive improvement. The symptoms were still there, but they weren't as bad as they were before. I've just started taking Psychogest, which has changed my life. It's been amazing. And in the midst of all that, I was like, fuck, I'm somebody who's able to navigate life pretty well. I'm a good communicator. I have loads of great contacts. And it's taken me 7 years, 7 whole years to get a diagnosis, for anybody to listen to me and tell me what's going on with me. Imagine all those other women who are going through the exact same thing and aren't able to advocate for themselves in the way that you can. It's like, shit, I need to do something about this. I have to. I have to do it for my community. I have to do it for other women. So I said, right, I'm gonna start a non-profit called Understanding My Body Through My Mind, because it's literally what I was trying to do. I was trying to understand what the fuck was going on with my body through my mind. I started a podcast which focuses on menstrual health conditions for education, and I'm also building an app. And this is why we're all here today. I want to create as much awareness as possible around these really serious chronic menstrual health conditions that we don't know about. I only learned about endometriosis through Anna and Gabs, who you guys will hear about. They're doing incredible things, but I didn't know this was something that existed, and it's horrendous. And I'm really flabbergasted at the fact that we're not teaching this in schools. Why on earth are we not teaching this in schools? Why is it being left for us, the women, to save each other? It's insane. So I'm going to cause a riot. I am. And I'm going to do everything in my power to create some change and change policies and for us to be heard, because enough is fucking enough. Shit. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, this is my story. Now, I have some amazing women. First, I'm going to invite Dr. Anna to the stage, and we're going to have a lovely discussion on PMDD, what it is, the hormones that are involved, why it affects the brain in the way it does. Why do we think about killing ourselves? Why? Yes, welcome to the stage.
Hello, everyone.
Firstly, thank you so much for coming. I know that you had work today and you still made time to come and see me, so I'm grateful.
Pleasure to be here.
Do you want to give a quick introduction on who you are and what it is that you do, please?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm hot off an NHS clinic, so my brain might be slightly foggy, but we'll get through it, and I will give you as much information as I possibly can about such an important topic. So, my name is Anna Cantley. I'm a GP by trade. All of my postgraduate training has been focused on female hormones. It might not surprise you that I got woefully poor education on female hormones at medical school. We had about one menopause lecture, maybe a whisper of PMDD. So really, all of my interest and passion has come after qualifying. I'm a menopause specialist, so I'm trained with the British Menopause Society as a menopause specialist. And my other passion is PMDD. And similarly to Celia, I also suffered with postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety. And I think seeing that shift in how I was feeling because of my female hormones and how they were changing postnatally, that really lit a fire in me to really understand women's health and female hormones even more. So I I really made a business case to get some funding for a local NHS women's health hubs where we do see women with PMDD in the community, which is great, and menopause. And I'm also lucky to run a private clinic as well where we look after women with PMDD and other premenstrual syndromes, including premenstrual exacerbation, which is where you have a pre-existing mental health condition, but it gets much worse in the time before your period, which perhaps is less talked about.
Amazing. So the first question we're going to ask you is for those people who might not be familiar with what PMDD is. Can you tell me exactly what PMDD is and what is the difference between PMDD and PMS?
Yeah. So PMDD stands for Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder. It's a cyclical, hormonally driven mental mood disorder. So it's recognised as a psychiatric condition. It's quite interesting because it sits in this intersection between gynecology and psychiatry. And that's, I think, speaks to the importance of having a multidisciplinary team supporting women with PMDD. But I think also because it sits in this intersection, it can mean that women often get misdiagnosed and there can be delays in diagnosis. Women with PMDD experience severe and disabling physical and mental symptoms in the up to 2 weeks before their period, so in the luteal phase of their menstrual cycle that follows ovulation. So it's a condition that only happens to women who are having ovulatory cycles. And if you're pregnant or if you're in the menopause, then generally it gets better, but it's unfortunately something that is chronic and long-term. When we say disabling symptoms, symptoms are extremely severe in PMDD, and that's what sets it out from PMS. So most women might experience mild irritability in the days before their period. With PMDD, it can be very scary and very severe. So some women experience extreme anxiety and low mood. They feel depressed. They can feel suicidal. I have several patients who tried to take their own lives in the week before their period. So very, very severe, and that's severity is one of the things that marks it away from PMS. The physical symptoms can also be very profound. So chronic fatigue, unable to get out of bed, muscle aches and pains, flu-like symptoms, sweats, horrendous bloating, breast tenderness, brain fog, lack of concentration. All of those symptoms can have a really big impact. And I think the important message is that this really impacts these women's ability to live their lives. So it's the impact on their functioning that's a really important characteristic of getting this diagnosis. So that might be being able to hold down a job, your relationships, how you are at home. All of these aspects can get affected. So I think because of all of this, it makes me incredibly passionate about raising awareness and supporting women in getting the diagnosis, because it's not always easy.
Why do you think that the medical profession isn't teaching? Why do you think this isn't in the curriculum? Not necessarily PMDD, but why do you think that menstrual health isn't in the curriculum? Because I genuinely think that, at least within the West, the medical system is catered to a young male, healthy male, which it doesn't make sense. So why do you think that is?
So I can't speak for the medical curriculum today because I haven't been at medical school for a long time. So hopefully it is changing. But historically, we've seen massive gender gaps in healthcare. We've seen a propensity and a priority of men's health over women's health. We've had a cultural tolerance and acceptance of women's suffering. And all of that together has led to massive data and healthcare gaps. So I think it's only recently, we've seen it a bit with menopause, and there's been a lot of media attention on menopause and the Davina McCall effect, and how media attention is then driving more policy and then more education. And I'm hoping that through organisations like yourself, we can see the same with PMDD, because we have a long way to go to improve awareness, but also treatment options for these women.
Let's talk about the science of PMDD. What hormones are involved? What happens? Because you'd be surprised how many people don't actually. I only learned this because I have PMDD, but I didn't understand the menstrual cycle. and why we had a period. I do now. Essentially, we're just baby making machines. That's literally what we're here to do. Like when you think about what the menstrual cycle is and why we're all suffering.
You're so right, and I think certainly when I was at school, most of my education on the menstrual cycle, when I was a student at secondary school, was around the actual period itself. And was taught about tampons and sanitary pads. No one explained anything else about how I might feel across the rest of that cycle, what was happening with my hormones, and they are powerful, powerful things. And they're not all the same across your menstrual cycle. They're going up and down, and you all feel different at different points of your menstrual cycle. So broadly, we'll try and keep it as succinct as possible. You've got two main phases of your menstrual cycle. You've got your follicular phase, and then your luteal phase. Your menstruation, your period, is at the start of your follicular phase. And then your follicular phase ends when you ovulate, which is around mid-cycle. The second part of your menstrual cycle is called your luteal phase, which is where we see symptoms of PMDD occurring. After ovulation, when estrogen is high, and we get a massive drop in our hormones, so there's quite a seismic shift, and both estrogen and progesterone are low after you ovulate. There is a small transient rise mid-luteal phase, and then they drop again before your period. And with PMDD, what is happening, or at least what we think is happening, because we need a lot more good quality data, is that there is a dysregulation of our GABA system, which is our calming circuit in the brain, in response to those fluctuations of hormones. So the GABA circuit should make you feel nice and calm, nice and relaxed. And normally when hormones like progesterone interact with that GABA receptor, you get a calming effect. But in PMDD, those fluctuations of the hormones mean that and probably a structural change in that GABA receptor means that the whole system is very dysregulated. So rather than having a calming effect, you get an upregulation of your amygdala, which is your emotional center of the brain. That's one aspect. We also think there's probably a role of inflammation. So we see a lot of the patients that I see have a history of chronic stress, perhaps early life trauma. That leaves an imprint on the body and can lead to a certain priming of neuroinflammation within the brain. There are some studies that have measured inflammatory markers in women with PMDD and found them to be higher, particularly in the luteal phase. And what does inflammation do? It also interacts and dysregulates this GABA receptor, this calming pathway. So there's probably multiple factors that contribute to PMDD from a neurobiology point of view, from a history of chronic trauma, chronic stress, and genetics as well. So we do tend to see patterns of hormonal vulnerability in family across mothers and daughters.
This question is to me. I've read, and I don't know how accurate this is, that there is an interlink and a connection between women who are neurodivergent, so ADHD, autism, and PMDD. Is there a link?
There's definitely a link. If you look at the diagnostic criteria of PMDD, about 50% of women who suffer with ADHD meet the criteria. So it's very common that we see co-diagnoses of ADHD, ASD, or autistic spectrum disorder. So anything that's priming your nervous system to be more sensitive also means you're more likely to have a tricky time with hormones. So, yes.
For women who think that they might have or PMDD, or what should they be looking out for? Or when they feel like they're coming at a point where they notice during their periods, life symptom part like myself, what do they need to be looking out for, number one, and what should they do?
So I think it's really important to information gather, so that if you're going to an appointment, whether it's with a 10-minute GP appointment, or if you are seeing a gynecologist, if you're seeing someone privately, making the most of that interaction by coming prepared. If you can cycle track, and we would normally ask you to do that for at least 2 or 3 cycles, so you can show a clear pattern of your symptoms occurring in the luteal phase, what those symptoms are, being relieved by the onset of your period, and having a week, a month, or sometimes it's shorter than that, sadly, it might even be a few days, but a period normally of a week, a month where you feel well. gathering that information is really, really helpful. I think the other thing that's helpful is to educate yourself on what sort of symptoms we're looking for. So we discussed some of those today, and tracking those and making a note of those. But also, and I talk a lot about this, is you shouldn't have to use key phrases to kind of get your GP's attention, but sometimes they can be really helpful. So things like, this is having a significant impact on my ability to work. I can't work because of these symptoms. This is having a significant impact on my relationships, or I feel a risk to myself. These are the sorts of phrases that make doctors listen and take stock and take note, and you're more likely to get their attention and get that diagnosis and not be, we hear a lot about medical gaslighting. All of those points are really helpful.
I was also going to say, just for anybody who is kind of having difficulties with their general practitioner, you can ask for a second opinion is what I've learned, number one, and you can request to be seen at private hospitals as well. There are options out there. Don't take no for an answer. You know your body more than anybody else does. Don't let them gaslight you. And if you feel like something's off, go seek a second, third, fourth opinion. You do have a choice, so don't take no for an answer, is what I've learned.
Yeah, self-advocacy, but also if you feel that you can't do that for yourself, or if your appointment's in your luteal phase and you don't feel that you'll be able to self-advocate, take someone with you. Actually, that's really helpful. Take a mum or a sister or a friend. I think that shows me that this is serious, that you need that help. Yeah. That can make a big difference as well.
Okay, so from a medical perspective, what treatments or management options are currently available? Because it just seems like it's a sea of everything.
Before I talk about the prescribed treatments, I just wanted to kind of reinforce what you were saying about how important lifestyle is, because treatments that we prescribe will only do so much if you haven't got those foundations of health in place. I spend a large part of my first consultations really drilling into lifestyle pillars. So we talk about diet, sleep, stress management, really, really important aspects of keeping you well, how you move your body. Broadly, I won't talk too much about it because I know we're short on time, but you want to go for an anti-inflammatory, high-fibre diet, lots of different plant foods, prebiotic foods that are feeding your gut microbiome. You want to look after your gut health. It's incredibly important in how we are able to process our hormones, our hormone metabolism. But if we're not, and we have gut dysbiosis, then we get more inflammation, we get more histamine release, which can also play a role in PMDD. So you want to look after your diet. You want to avoid having lots of sugar spikes. So you want to try and have nice, complex carbohydrates where your sugar's being released steadily throughout the day, and you're not having these massive crashes that are going to be contributing to your symptoms. Think about how much alcohol you're putting into your body. Avoid it altogether if you can, because it really does contribute to an exacerbation of so many symptoms, and mood, particularly, and anxiety, as well as being inflammatory. Caffeine as well, be cautious. Move your body. You might not want to do high-intensity workouts in your luteal phase, but doing some form of movement, whether it's walking in nature or light yoga or Pilates, will raise endorphins. It will help with your overall mood. And think about, in addition to a healthy diet, some supplements, which we do have some good guidance from the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology about supplements that might add value. Things like vitamin B6, magnesium, calcium, vitamin D, sometimes agonist casters. They can help to lessen the severity of symptoms. They're only going to provide a piece of the puzzle, but all of these things are really, really important. Do think about therapy. If you haven't had therapy already, it could be a really valuable tool at giving yourself the coping strategies. Cognitive behavioural therapy is an evidence-based tool for PMDD. I would say with that, make sure you're trying to find someone who knows what PMDD is and has an awareness of women's health conditions, because that can make all the difference in what we get out of therapy. There's a good organisation called the PMDD Collective, and they have PMDD focused therapists for group and individual sessions. So that's very helpful. In terms of prescribed treatments, you've broadly got two arms. You have psychological therapies, and then you have cycle suppression. We hope that there will be more treatments in the future, but that's where we are at the moment with two different treatment arms. The psychological therapies include things like CBT, but do include antidepressants, and for some women they can be extremely effective and very valuable. You can either take those continuously or just in your luteal phase, so just for 14 days of your cycle. And I've got some patients who've done really well. I have other patients who haven't done so well, so I think it's very individualised. It's important to understand prior experience and not just offer them up if you've had difficult experiences before. So they do tend to work more effectively or more quickly in PMDD than in standard depression. And that might be because of their role in how they affect allopregnanolone, which is one of the metabolites of progesterone. So that's psychological therapies. For your cycle suppression, you normally are first line offered the pill, which unsurprisingly has lots of issues because the majority of pills out there have synthetic hormones, and giving synthetic hormones to an already hormonally sensitive woman is going to be tricky territory. There are some pills that are better evidence-based, so Eloin or Yaz has got better evidence in PMDD. There are some newer pills out there, because not all pills are the same, that have more body-similar hormones within them. So you could always ask to try one of those if you wanted, and they are effective at stopping you from ovulating. If you don't want to take those, or you can't for whatever reason, if you've got a medical condition that means you can't take them, or you've tried them before and you haven't worked, you can use hormonal replacement therapy, which we use for menopause, to cycle suppress. And that's normally giving yourself an estrogen through the skin at relatively high doses, and then so a patch or gel, and then you can take a cyclical progesterone that's aligned with your luteal phase of your cycle. So that can be a very effective treatment. Again, not without its challenges, because often we find that there are sensitivities to one or two of those components, and we have to kind of navigate the way through that.
Can you just ask, with the progesterone, if one of the issues with PMDD is the drop in progesterone, and there is body-identifying progesterone out there, like Cyclogest, why not just give the women that?
So Cyclogest is another option. It was it's not as commonly used because when they looked at all the evidence out there, which unsurprisingly is not lots, the quality of the evidence was deemed not significant enough to recommend it. However, it makes sense if you're trying to stabilise progesterone across a luteal phase, then using Cyclogest, which is a progesterone pessary, it's given vaginally, can be very transformational for a lot of women. I do have some positive experience with it as well.
Me too. My head's really making
it was first used by Catherine Dalton, who was the pioneer of PMDD research. It's just slightly fallen out of favour because of the systematic review that looked at evidence, but I'm using it more and finding good effects with it.
Yeah, so I've noticed, so I started taking Cyclogest, just again, my doctor wouldn't prescribe it. He sent me back to the hormonal clinic. I'm still waiting to be seen. It's been nearly a year. I was like, forget that. But I've been very lucky because I have relationships with doctors who work privately, and one of them said, look, this is silly, just come to the clinic and I'll prescribe you some, and he did. And it's made such a huge difference. There's a caveat to that though. I have changed my diet completely, and I've stopped drinking. I work out intensely, so I've got a really good holistic lifestyle, but I have noticed that Cyclogest has really helped. Like last month was probably one of the best periods I've had in about 9-10 years, if I'm honest. Yeah.
So I think it's brilliant that you've had a fantastic experience. I have to say there is no one size fits all, and one person's wonderful experience might cause progesterone side effects in another, so it's tricky to try and find that way forward. But I think the key, and this is what's tricky in the NHS, is trying to see the same person who knows you, who can kind of go on that journey with you, and that's where we've got a bit of a gap at the moment.
Nice. I want to talk about partners now. What's the best way the partners and family members, or even like the workplace, can better support someone with PMDD, because it's really difficult to navigate?
So I often recommend, as part of sort of planning and building your toolkit, to have a bit of a luteal plan in place, write it out, share it with your partner. I think some of the menstrual tracking apps allow you to share your dates and your symptoms with your partner and your predicted dates when it's going to be the next month. And I think that can really help to remove it from the conflict zone to this planning zone where you're able to write out together, what are the things that are going to make me feel well during my luteal phase? What are the triggers? What are the things that you're going to do that are going to annoy me? What are the things that I'm probably going to find quite triggering? How can we mitigate against some of that? And that can be really helpful. Group therapy with your partner is also helpful. I think for the workplace, what we need to recognise is that PMDD can be or does meet the criteria for a disability. It's a long-term condition that affects your ability to function. So I quite often will write letters in support of workplace adaptations under the Disability Act, the Equality Act. So whether that's working from home for certain dates of your month, whether it's alterations in hours, it will depend on your employer, but I think that can be really helpful in validating the diagnosis and using it as a stepping point to discuss that with work.
Amazing. And looking ahead, what research should we all be looking out for, or what research is currently available on PMDD? What changes are being made?
Good question. So there is quite a lot of nutritional research that's happening at the moment that I think is interesting because it can be very transformational. So looking at the role of the microbiome. I think microbiome as its own entity is still very much emerging in its own field. So we're really kind of developing an understanding of how gut bugs and the balance of gut bugs can influence all areas of health. So watch that space. There is some interesting research happening around neurostimulation in the role of PMDD. So Nettle is a sort of neurostimulation headband that are doing some trials with looking at reducing the severity of PMDD symptoms. And a lot more research working on inflammation and the GABA receptor and whether there are specific drugs that can be developed that look at that specifically. So that said, we do need a lot more investment in research in PMDD. So if there's any investors out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Anna. You've been amazing. Dr. Anna, guys. Just before you go, where can we find you if you want to find you on social media?
Dr. Anna _hormones, and the clinic I work at privately is Westminster Women's Clinic. If any of you are NHS patients in the south of Kensington, Chelsea, come and see me in my clinics there.
Amazing. Thank you. Dr. Anna. Okay, so we're now going to have Alice on stage. Come on, girl. Alice, you want to introduce yourself? Let them know who you are and what you do. I met Alice about 5 months ago. She was on my podcast and she was telling me about all the amazing work that she does with women and the importance of like working out and foods and microbiomes, and I was like, shit, right. So you get to work. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. So my name's Alice.
Can you guys hear Alice? Sorry.
Is this not working?
Is this on?
Yeah.
So my name's Alice Smith and I am a physiologist, which I actually had to Google the definition of what that was on the way here because I'm a physiologist by trade. It's an expert in human physiology, so it's preventing, curing disease and illness through lifestyle and optimising health through lifestyle as well. And I am a women's health coach. I specifically work with ambitious, driven women to help them with their energy, their brain function and balancing their hormones so that their health can actually be one of their greatest assets with their goals in their career and their personal life, rather than those things being what holds them back.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to go straight in. So, the 4 elements approach: move, nourish, recover, and realign, which is something I think that you came up with. How do you adapt them for women when they're in that survival mode? So for those 10 days, if you suffer from PMDD, you know there's like 10 to 15 days that you're just rotting away and you can do nothing but lie in bed, binging, and drink wine and try not to kill yourself. What would you advise? What are your suggestions to navigate around that?
So the 4 elements that I work with my clients, I think Dr. Anna kind of covered them quite well as well, but I call them move, nourish, recover, and realign. And they're basically exercise, nutrition, mindfulness, managing your nervous system balance, and sleep and rest. Which, you know, are all things that you, Celia, yourself have realised are really, really important when managing these hormonal symptoms. Now, with PMDD, we know it's not not necessarily a problem with hormone imbalance. It's how your body reacts to your normal fluctuations of your hormones. But imagine if there was also hormonal imbalance going on. There's also stress, high cortisol, there's also blood sugar imbalance. That's just going to exaggerate all of these symptoms. So the 4 elements work towards reducing inflammation in the body. They work towards relaxing the nervous system, so allowing us to drop out of fight or flight, which is where cortisol rules the show, and that can really aggravate symptoms. They help to improve serotonin, endorphins that make you feel good, which although we're not 100% clear on exactly what causes PMDD, there's some link between serotonin uptake or regulation. So it's really important to still have those 4 elements in balance, under lock and key, when you have PMDD, but also just for all women, basically. In those 10 days that you've mentioned, I think what the first thing that's important is not putting pressure on yourself. Like if you're not doing what you thought you should be doing, and that word "should" is probably like the worst way you can put pressure on yourself in this situation. But take the pressure away. Just be very kind to yourself, like you would a friend in that situation, because the stress of worrying about not doing your exercise, not doing your specific morning routine is probably just going to add to your symptoms in that case. And then it's just keeping it very, very simple, like micro steps. So for example, having a slow, relaxed morning can be one thing that is on your non-negotiable for managing your symptoms. It's going to help to relax your nervous system, reduce your stress throughout the day. Getting to bed just a little bit earlier, treating yourself to a nice cozy wind down routine. And I think having that mindset of, okay, I'm gonna spoil myself with what's gonna make me feel better. I'm gonna spoil myself and really treat myself to an early night. I'm gonna light a candle and get all cozy, and it's gonna be something that I'm gonna give myself, and it's gonna help me to feel better. But yeah, just taking micro steps, those small changes around nutrition, what you're eating, when you're eating as well, and not expecting to completely 180 your life all in one go.
I'm going to go back to nutrition because I've noticed the difference since I've completely changed my diet. And although the advice is change your diet, eat more leafy greens, more legumes, more fruit and veg, it's all about the difference between genetically modified foods and organic foods. If you suffer from conditions like PMDD, is it a better option to eat organic foods rather than genetically modified? Because when I think about genetically modified, I think about the word genetically modified. are we getting the nutrients that we're supposed to be getting? And is it friendly for our microbiomes if we're eating foods that have been genetically modified? So should we really be eating more organic foods, or it's indifferent, it doesn't really matter? I'm really curious about that, because I'm just like, genetically modified, so the food has genetically been changed, so what nutrients are we really getting when we're eating these apples?
So there definitely is a difference, and there definitely, I mean, for everyone, and especially if you've got a condition that is sensitive to your gut health, your gut microbiome health, there will be benefits from choosing organic, but there's levels to how far you're going to go. So if you're not already eating at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables a day, if you're eating lots of highly processed foods, simple sugars, not getting enough protein, then switching to organic is not the place to start. We need to take further steps back. So one of the biggest things to focus on around your nutrition, as well as, well, we've already touched on improving gut health, but it's also managing your blood sugar, because your blood sugar is modulated by the hormone that your body prioritizes over all the other hormones pretty much, which is insulin. So if your blood sugar is unstable and your insulin is kind of going up and down and up and down, this throws off all of your other hormones. It's also going to affect your energy, your mood, so you're going to be more likely to want to bed rot, you're going to be more likely to crave sugar and binge eat. It affects your cortisol if you allow if your blood sugar has a big spike because you eat something sugary, even just like simple carbohydrates like white rice, for example. Your body's going to produce loads of insulin, and then you're going to get a big dip, and then your body produces loads of cortisol, because it's like, oh my god, we're going to starve, because that's how our brains evolved to view that. So really making an effort to keep your blood sugar stable. So eating regular meals, very, very important. Starting the day with a high protein, high fiber breakfast. Choosing whole grain carbohydrates over white carbohydrates, so literally switching to brown rice, brown bread, that increases the fiber, it improves the way your body reacts, or it improves your absorption of the sugar. So I think back to your question about organic food, that's definitely, if you wanted to take that next step, you probably will see some improvement around that, but there's definitely things lower down on the pyramid that are going to have a much bigger impact, and that are probably an easier place to start as well.
Okay, so you use tools like wearables and health testing for your work. How can tracking data such as cycle patterns, sleep or stress makers help women better anticipate and manage their symptoms, whether it's PMDD or PMS?
So tracking your cycle is something that every single woman should be doing from period number 1, and it's I know we've already gone over this, but it's insane to me that we're not told this. We're told your cycle is just your period, like that's all it is. You have a period once a month, and that means you're not pregnant, and that's all it is. And then, yeah, this has gone on through my own story of coming off the pill, having mad PMS symptoms. Even though I worked in healthcare, I was already healthy and already thought I knew a lot about looking after my body, but I didn't know so much about the menstrual cycle. So tracking your cycle and getting to know your own patterns is just game-changing. It's game-changing in business, it's game-changing in your relationships, it's game-changing in your mood, your energy. It's like, put it in your calendar. But this is the day I'm due to ovulate, this is the day I'm due to be on my period. And actually pay attention to that when you're planning your events or work things, because once you start tracking, and you can track every day, so track what day of the cycle it is. So is it day 1? Is it the first day of your period? The average cycle is around 28 days. And then if you track your symptoms, how you felt, your mood, your energy, whatever comes up for you, 2-3 months in, you might go, oh, day 22 is actually really chaotic for me, and I can see that that's been the same every single month. So what can I do around day 22 to prevent that feeling? So, and And it's also really important if you do have something like PMDD, PCOS, endometriosis, because you can take that to your doctor. You can use that to help get a diagnosis and help with your treatment as well. One of the really important things that I use with my clients that we track is their heart rate variability. So HRV is a measure of your nervous system health. So it basically measures how balanced your nervous system is between spending time in fight, flight, or freeze mode, or the other side of things, which is your rest, recover, relax. And to reduce symptoms of PMDD, but also just PMS, to reduce risk of burnout, to improve your mood, reduce anxiety and depression, you want a pretty good balance. It's like your nervous system is like your body's battery, and like your phone battery, you're going to be draining it when you're using it. So we're going to be a little bit in our fight or flight when we're walking, we're moving, we're doing, we're talking. That is very, very normal. But the amount that you drain it, you need to be recharging it back to 100%. So if you've had an extra stressful day, you're going to need to balance that out with a little bit more rest and recovery. But this is, we could probably assume or guess if you've had a stressful day, how much rest we need. But your heart rate variability is a measure of this. It's like that little battery sign you get on your phone, tracking your heart rate variability. You can see how much time you spent in your stress state, how high that stress was, and are you able to rest, or is your fight or flight almost like stuck on? And once you can see this, and once you can see what you're doing during the day that impacts your stress and rest, this is really, really important data to work with to then take action to improve that balance and improve recovery.
And then the last question is about working out. So I work out a lot, and I notice that there's a huge difference when I work out and when I don't work out. For some reason, I have more energy when I work out. And again, it helps when I'm in the really dark space, sort of 10 days before my menstrual cycle, when the progesterone's completely collapsed. I'm like, okay, I feel slightly better because this month I've been really good and I've gone to the gym. I've stopped doing cardio. I lift quite heavy now. You see, getting a bit old. So the 30s have really hit me. Let's talk about working out and how important it is to work out if you do suffer from any sort of mental health condition. Bearing in mind there are people who are not able to physically do it because of different reasons. So let's talk about how important it is to work out and movement for your body.
So the reason we feel better when we exercise, well, there are multiple, but we literally produce endorphins, which are these hormones that make us feel really, really good. It helps to increase serotonin, which also makes us feel happy and is important in PMDD, where serotonin may play quite a big part in the mental health side of things. But also it helps us to reduce cortisol, and it helps us to relax our nervous system. When we exercise, we go into fight or flight dominance because we need to get the blood pumping, we need to get our heart rate up, we need to deliver oxygen to the muscles, so we increase cortisol, adrenaline, our fight or flight system increases. When we stop exercising, your body then has to work really hard for you to recover and relax. So it switches this fight or flight down, it really ramps up the rest and recover, and we often overshoot. So we're more relaxed, we've got lower cortisol, our nervous system is more towards the rest and recover rest and recover side post-exercise. So it really helps us to relax, it helps to lower cortisol, make us feel good. And this is obviously with everyone, it's not just with menstrual disorders, but it really drastically helps to improve symptoms of PMDD, PMS, endometriosis, PCOS. So whatever you can do, even if it's just going for a walk around the block, even if it's just doing some gentle stretches, is way better than doing nothing.
And just one more before I go, actually. Supplements, right? I take supplements. I take vitamin D, I take ashwagandha. I take so many supplements. Bloody hell. Can somebody make like a supplement that is just one, just one with everything in it, so that I don't have to take 10 supplements.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Evelyn, maybe. Jared, maybe. That's Jared over there, guys. He runs a supplement company called Evelyn. Amazing stuff. Maybe you guys can work on that, yeah? Please. What supplements do you advise women take? So I take vitamin D, as I said. I take ashwagandha. I take magnesium. I take B12. I take B6. I take...
All of those, basically. You hit the nail on the head. Omega-3 you missed out, which is
I take omega-3.
Anti-inflammatory. So omega-3 helps to reduce inflammation. Magnesium will help with sleep, relaxation. Vitamin D is really important, especially from October to March in the UK, especially if you've got darker skin as well.
Melanated people, get your vitamin D.
And in the UK, it's just non-existent from autumn to spring. There are also some more kind of herbal supplements and what do they call them? Adaptogens.
Okay.
So like ashwagandha, which evidence shows that it may help to lower cortisol and help with that nervous system relaxation as well. So you've hit the nail on the head with all the ones you've said there. I recommend everyone takes vitamin D, omega-3, and B12 if you don't eat meat, definitely, because that really helps with your energy. So they're the three that I really recommend that everyone takes, but when you're dealing with menstrual symptoms, magnesium can really support that as well, and the B vitamins, really important.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Alice Smith.
Thank you so much.
Alice, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Alice in Wellness.
Amazing. Right, guys, do I have something for you? Oh my goodness, these two girls. Come on, girls.
No pressure.
So, welcome to the stage, Anna and Gabs. I met them back in March, I think it was, at an International Women's Day event by a doctor that we know in common, and I was flabbergasted by what I heard. At that point, I'd never ever in my entire life have ever heard of endometriosis. Didn't know what it was. They then go on stage, start talking. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? Then, unfortunately, we don't have a monitor here for you guys to see. But then I saw the visuals. I saw the actual visuals of what endometriosis is, and then I heard it can go into your lungs, your brain, your kidneys, and Anna, I hope you don't mind me sharing that you've got is it
Stoma bag.
the stoma bag, and then Gabs is walking with, like, it's just insane, crazy stuff. So I said, all right, okay, I need to shine a light on this because it affected me so much. I've gone and done a lot more research on it now, and I'm like, we're all fucked.
That's how it feels sometimes.
Seriously.
We feel like that.
So I want this to be really conversational. I purposely didn't prepare any question for you guys.
We love going rogue.
I
was like, you prepared? I was like, oh no, we just wing it really. So
Yeah.
we do.
I purposely didn't prepare any question for you guys. Firstly, I want you guys to introduce yourselves, and in that introduction, I want you guys to then go ahead and share your story and the incredible work that you're doing with the Menstrual Health Project. And then I'm going to ask you maybe some questions about navigating the healthcare system, because you guys have been dealing with it since you're like 13 or something.
Yeah.
So, right, do you want to start, Gabs?
I'll kick us off, no pressure. So, hello everyone, I'm Gabs. I am one half of Menstrual Health Project with my lovely best friend Anna. So I started my periods at 10. They were really heavy and painful straight away. Debilitating. I missed loads of school, and by 12 my mum, who's here tonight, took me to the doctors, and straight away they just said, you'll be alright, you just need to go on the pill. So my mum was like, okay, the doctors have said that must be the right thing to do then. And
back then, this was over 20 years ago, a lot of us thought whatever the doctor said is gospel, and I just went away and I started high school, and my menstrual health just got worse and worse and worse. My bowel and my stomach also got really bad as well, missed more school. I then developed really bad mental health as well, and I got to year 11 and I had such bad depression. I left halfway through and did my GCSEs from home. I did terribly. I didn't really have any support from school. All of my friends didn't really understand why I was depressed. I remember going to CAMS, which is the teenage system for mental health services, and the counsellor asked me why I was depressed because I seemed like I had a nice life. And after that I was like, well, I'm definitely not talking to anyone about anything to do with my health again. And I left school, and from 17 to 23 I was back and forth from the doctors, being told I had IBS, gluten intolerances. It was just part of being a woman. It was stress when I was having constant bleeding during my period and all month through. I was having rectal bleeding, abdominal pain, pelvic pain, irritable bowels, really erratic, horrific bowel movements, which when you're that age, it's horrible at any age, but when you're a young woman, it's just not a pleasant thing to deal with. I met my husband when I was trying to get diagnosed, and it was painful to have sex, and it was painful after. And when you're in a romantic relationship, it's not a very nice thing to have to think about. So I eventually got diagnosed with endometriosis on my bowel and my left ovary at 23. So I spent about 6 or 7 years just being completely gaslit, dismissed, ignored, and I'd lost jobs, I'd lost friends, I'd lost finances, I'd almost lost my mind from just not knowing. And I was really lucky that when I was diagnosed by my consultant, who's still my consultant today, that I finally got the confirmation that I wasn't going crazy, that there was something wrong with me, and it made a lot of sense. But I didn't think about at that point how my life would turn out now from it. So fast forward to now, I've had another 5 surgeries. I've also got, I might as well reel them off. Adenomyosis I've recently just had a hysterectomy 2 months ago, but I also was diagnosed with PMDD this year, and I'm trying to get diagnosed with ADHD. But I got diagnosed with adenomyosis at 24 and was told to either have a baby or to have a hysterectomy. And at that point, I didn't want to do either. I didn't even know what hysterectomy was. So I tried chemically induced menopause. I tried different types of hormonal treatments. I tried everything, and my endometriosis kept growing back, and it was spreading to my womb and my bladder as well, fusing organs together. And my last 2 surgeries before my hysterectomy, I went privately, and I was really lucky, otherwise I probably would have lost my ovary and my bowel. So I've got to the point now at 33 that I've had to have today. So embarrassing. I've already been stung twice, literally.
Well, the same later, okay?
Thanks. But I'm 33 now, and I've had to have all my reproductive organs removed, and now I'm in surgical menopause as a result. Haven't been able to have children. Luckily, I have 2 dogs that are absolutely incredible. But my mobility is completely reduced, my bowel and my bladder function. I actually shit myself yesterday. That was a lovely birthday present. I mean, quite literally as well. So the toll that these conditions take on you is not just bad periods or bloating or kind of the trademark symptoms people think for things like endometriosis and adenomyosis, but it impacts your whole life. For me, I had to stop working a few years ago. I haven't been able to have children. My mobility is completely reduced. My bowel, my bladder function, all of these different things. And then that's not even factoring in the mental health side. And when I got diagnosed with PMDD this year, and it was such a weird light bulb moment, because we have been going into schools and workplaces for over 2 years now talking about PMDD. And it took me such a long time to piece it all together. And I think a lot of people feel like that with PMDD, that you have all these different symptoms and you kind of put it down to other things. You put it down to this, you put it down to that, because people tell you that it's probably something else. But for me, having a hysterectomy was already on the cards, so doing so, it has reduced my PMDD, but I've definitely swapped that out for menopause because the symptoms are very similar. So it's the lesser of two evils, but then it's a whole nother door of dealing with being menopausal in your 30s. And in the nicest way, it's quite nice doing it together with menopause, isn't it? Like sharing fans and all these things. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey, and I think although it's been paved with a lot of misery and sadness and trauma, I'm really lucky because it's brought us together to run a charity. Because if we didn't have it, we wouldn't meet each other, because Anna lives up in North Wales, I'm down in Brighton, we would have never met each other. So yeah, it's been horrible, but I'm 2 months post-surgery, and yeah, it's just a new chapter and having to learn to navigate it, basically.
And you're doing really well with it. You are doing amazing with it.
It's emotional damage, isn't it? Yeah, it's just
insane.
It's made me even more emotional than I already am. I was crying at Jurassic Park the other day. You know the one with Chris Pratt when the Stegosaurus gets left at the dock and all the smoke just comes. Oh God, literally.
Is that the menopause or is that the PMDD?
I don't know, and that's the thing, is that I think people are told with PMDD to a really last resort is to have a hysterectomy, but it's all of the other things it comes with. So I think it's for them to be informed to have those decisions.
Yeah, don't get a hysterectomy.
That's not pleasant.
It's not fine.
No, it's
at
not
all.
nice.
I'm just going to be super conscious of my husband's in the back there, and he's an audiovisual. He runs an audiovisual company, so if I don't hold this mic properly, I'm going to get told off later. Okay, so if you don't hear me, just have it like you can hear me, okay? But hi, I'm Anna, I'm the other half of MHP, and similar to Gabs, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. I was lucky because I was diagnosed just before I turned 18, but that wasn't without kind of turbulence through my journey. So I started my periods age 11, really heavy, painful from the get-go. By the age of 13, it wasn't just my periods. I was having UTI symptoms with no UTIs. This fly is wanting to go by me. I was having rectal bleeding constantly, cyclically, but then it was just continuous and back and forth to the GP. Just kept on telling me it was my normal, I needed to get on with it. And I used to bleed for up to 72 days, and I'd bleed through pads every 30 minutes. I was severely iron deficient, I'd pass out, it was just horrific. And I was brought up in a really conservative household. My cousin's here today, so she'll be able to vouch for that. My mum was a nurse, mental health nurse, but unfortunately never had training on endometriosis, so didn't even know kind of the signs and symptoms of what came with that. So she just thought I just was one of those unlucky ones, and painful periods was part of it. And I was back into the GP until finally we managed to get in front of a gynaecologist when I was 16. To her completely dismiss me, to then turn around and say I needed clinical psychological help because there was nothing wrong with me, and that I needed to get on with life and stop being dramatic. And I actually physically believed that, because I had black and white paper in front of me saying that I needed clinical psychological help. And it wasn't until 4 months later I got rushed into A&E, and I saw an amazing general surgeon that just thought I had an appendicitis, so rushed me to the theatre. And I thank God for him every single day, because coming out of that surgery, I thought, oh, they'll whip my appendix out and the pain will have gone. And no, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and he could see it everywhere, but he said, I'm really sorry, I can't treat it. I'm not one of those surgeons, so you're going to have to go back to gynae. He sent me back to that first gynae, who absolutely flatly refused to agree with his findings, so refused to treat me. So that's when my dad, bless his heart, he took me privately to a specialist in Birmingham, and I went into surgery. He thought he wouldn't find a huge amount, he just thought I'll see a little bit, and it wasn't, it was everywhere. So I was diagnosed with stage 4 widespread endometriosis. It had infiltrated my bowel and my bladder, so I had to have them resected.
I had my peritoneum stripped, I had it off my ovaries, my tubes, my womb. And that was the real kind of beginning of my journey now. But I actually remember feeling absolute utter relief at being diagnosed. And being diagnosed with a horrific condition that I had no clue what it was. And I just thought, oh, this surgery will be the start of it and I'll be absolutely fine. And within 6 months, my symptoms were back. By 12 months, I was having surgery again to remove it because it had come back aggressively. And just to make a note, it was excision surgery where they cut it away. And long story short, I'm 32 now. I've had 18 surgeries. I lost my large bowel, my bladder, majority of my bladder. So I have 2 stoma bags, a urostomy and an ileostomy. I had a hysterectomy at the age of 28, all my reproductive organs removed, including ovaries. So being thrust into menopause, that's why me and Gabs know it too well. Because I did chemical menopause for 4 years before, but I was incredibly lucky that me and my husband had our daughter when I was 22. But that didn't come up without its issues. I tried for 2 years, then kind of had hyperemesis gravidarum through my pregnancy, bled through my entire pregnancy, had her prematurely. So it was difficult. But I count my lucky stars every day that we made a decision to have her younger than planned. But we were in, what's important is we were in the position that we could have children at that point, because we see it so often with our charity where they're late teens being told have a baby or have a hysterectomy as an answer to help their endometriosis. It's not going to help. I've had a baby and a hysterectomy and I'm still here and I'm waiting for my 19th surgery. So it's a really chronic condition, and I absolutely agree with kind of people who've been before us talking about having a holistic lifestyle. But these conditions are chronic, and we need to upskill our medical system for women's health and fast. And I think that's why me and Gabs started MHP, because we were just sick of the lack of education in schools in particular.
For those people who don't fully understand what endometriosis is, what happens to the body? What causes endometriosis? What is actually occurring?
They don't, again, lack of research, they don't really know what causes it. There's reasons what it could be genetics, it could be lots of different factors, environmental factors. It's really difficult to tell, but I think the main thing with endometriosis is that it's not the endometrium, so it's not the lining of the womb. So it's tissue similar to the lining of the womb, can go anywhere in the body. So it can spread like a cancer. It's very, very similar to cancer, but people don't take it seriously like the way cancer is taken seriously.
Yeah, because it's been classed as a benign condition. You're absolutely then at the bottom of the pile when it comes to needing surgery. But you've got to understand there's patients with endometriosis that we've come across that have been diagnosed in their kind of exploratory surgery with severe endometriosis that has impacted the bowel and the bladder, and they need surgery ASAP so that saves that organ, to then be told their wait list on their surgery is 4 or 5 years, because it's not classed as serious, it's classed as a benign condition. But every time I step foot into an A&E department, if I haven't seen that doctor, they presume I've had cancer because of the amount of surgeries I've had. And it's like, but that's the damage endometriosis can do if it's left. And yes, there's variations of it. There's some people who live with it, have surgery and have respite for 10, 15 years, if not more. But there are other people like myself and Gabs, and we're not, I think, a minority anymore, are we? Because of how people have been dismissed and ignored for so long. The average diagnosis time now is 9 years in the UK. Like, that's mad. Like, people are having to wait and suffer that long. And it's not just a period, it's not just a bad period, it's debilitating. Like Gab said earlier, it affects your mental health, your relationships, whether that be with your partners, with your friendships, your work-life balance, everything. It just trickles into every part of your life, and there is a way of being able to live with the condition and live with it well, but you have to have support from every area, and unfortunately at the moment our health system isn't equipped enough to help support. And it's not just endometriosis, it's PMDD, it's PCOS, it's fibroids, it's all aspects of menstrual health.
Multidisciplinary at all.
Massively.
It should be, if you have surgeries or any clinical or surgical intervention, it should be then looking at after how you can be helped holistically and surgically, because the two go hand in hand. And I think sometimes you'll get doctors who are very, very pushy for you to have the surgeries and kind of be done with you after and want you to make a rash decision in that sense, or the other ones that just want to put you on a pill, pressure you into chemical menopause. We see that a lot, that it's kind of like a level system that if you do chemical menopause, you can then unlock and then you can have a surgery, a bargaining chip. And we say it with chest, and we've said it in media and press that doctors do that. Some doctors pressure patients in to try things like chemical menopause. And I think it can be really dangerous because, like, when I did chemical menopause the last time, I honestly felt like I could just chuck myself, like fling myself off a building. And it's not always helpful because they're not looking at you as not just the tree, it's the whole forest, it's your whole body they need to think about, which they don't sometimes.
So you guys have a lot of experience navigating through the NHS, privately and non-private. But what's the word?
NHS.
The NHS.
Public
Yeah.
health.
Public health.
That's the one.
That one. I'm a common me. I grew up in East London, Forest Gate. So bear with me here.
The other one.
What advice would you give to people who are trying to navigate the healthcare system, who might suspect they have endometriosis and they're just being pushed from pillar to post? Because you guys have a lot of experience. So
Firstly, never give up, I think, because it is really difficult to stand up for yourself. I think first and foremost, especially as a young person, especially as a female, I think it is incredibly difficult to feel like your voice will be heard, especially because you're kind of taught in society that medical professionals have all the answers, and actually reality is they humanly possibly can't have all the answers. It's just finding the right person to help you at that time. That was why Menstrual Health Project was born. Our charity was absolutely our kind of first and foremost is educational resources. So we brought out, alongside with kind of medical professionals backing, we created the Endometriosis Diagnostic Toolkit, which is the first toolkit of its kind that goes through everything about endometriosis and help you navigate. But firstly is really to find the right doctor for you. And like you said earlier, you can ask first, second, third, fourth, fifth opinions till you're heard. But also, I think what we don't, both me and Gabs definitely didn't realise growing up and saying when you're talking to people is that not every GP is a women's health specialist GP. So not every GP is going to have knowledge of endometriosis. My GP definitely didn't originally. My GP now is brilliant, but they constantly said that it was my normal, and actually if you write it down, it definitely was not normal, even saying it out loud. So I think it's asking those questions. You're allowed to ask your GP practice, do you have a women's health specialist GP or a GP with a specialist interest in women's health? Don't be afraid to say, could this be endometriosis? Could this be PCOS? Can I be referred? Anything, PMDD, PCOS, any of them. I think it's really important to equip yourself with as much knowledge as possible. And I think that's why we created the toolkit, wasn't it? Was to really put it in kind of simple form that was easily digestible with the toolkits, because if you Google endometriosis or our symptoms just in general, it'll tell you you're dying probably, doesn't it?
Also, unfortunately, the NHS website is not built for women.
NHS in itself is just a big mess.
The website is shocking. It wasn't until a few years ago when Naga Munchetti, who's a BBC presenter, came out and said she had adenomyosis, that they then decided to put it on the NHS website. If you tap it into your phone, it still comes up with a red squiggly line underneath. And for a second I'm like, have I misspelt it? Because it's a very strange word to spell. But it doesn't acknowledge it. But I think what's important as well is knowing your healthcare rights and actually
Know your healthcare rights.
educating
Absolutely.
yourself is so important. I had no idea what NICE was, Care Quality Commission, Health Ombudsman. I only found out about a few weeks ago. All of these things, because you don't want to have to make complaints. But to me, it's giving feedback so things can change, not just for you, but for other people. Healthcare professionals and systems can be held accountable. And for me and Anna, who both have complaints against trusts at the minute, it's about knowing how to do that in the correct way and taking the right information to consultants and to departments and saying, but I know I can have this and this is the way I can do it and I know you can do that. Because sometimes I think some medical professionals will withhold because they don't want to do it, they don't want to spend the money, it's too much hard work, and I think sometimes they think, oh well, they'll just go away and they won't, what's the word, I can't think, the brain fog's it, they won't contest it, they won't progress and they won't want to find out what's going on with their health. And we've both had to do that and are still doing that, and it's exhausting. But it's really, really important to do it because you only have one body, one health, and it's so important that you advocate as much as you can.
Yeah, I think we were in a event with Dame Leslie Regan. So she said a comment that the NHS is built by men for men. And it is absolutely right. And I think that's why there aren't certain policies and referral pathways in place. We've come up against it so many times. So another tip we got given at an event was if a doctor refuses what you've asked them to do, make sure that you ask them to make a note on your record that they're refusing to refer you, because 9 times out of 10 they will back out and actually refer you because they don't want it on record that they've refused you. So I think it's absolutely mind-baffling that we have to do this, but we do.
Reverse psychology, isn't it?
It is, and I think it is
Play
really
them at their own game.
it is really difficult, because what you've got to realise is, like, for ourselves, if you're being a young teenager, say 14, 15, you're going in, you've got to fight your corner already because you've got your age against you, because they're going to look at you and go, oh, you're just being dramatic because you're young. Then you've got being female part of it going, oh yeah, but it's part and parcel of being female, so you'll be fine. And then you then feel belittled and that you don't want to kind of keep fighting your corner. So some people sit in silence for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
And by then it's too late.
Just to add to that with what you said, there's being female and then there's also cultural barriers.
Cultural,
There's a lot of
exactly.
racial bias.
Yeah.
Oh my
As a
God.
black woman, I have to tell you, this is
Yeah.
something I need to point out,
Yeah.
that all of those things play a
Yeah,
part.
massive.
Because there is a narrative that black women are really strong.
Yeah.
And they can just, and it's like, hello, no.
Yeah.
So we also need to look at those things.
But
Yeah,
cultural
100%.
backgrounds, we find that especially in schools. You know, this is why we're fighting for proper menstrual health educations in schools and it be done properly. Because for a lot of people, especially from cultural backgrounds, you'll know yourself, is making sure that actually school might be the only place they get that information, and to make sure they get the right information. And it's, you know, we don't, currently still in schools, we're teaching boys how to use condoms, but we're not teaching girls how to use tampons correctly. So they're going to TikTok and YouTube to how to use tampons, and then end up with, you know, conditions like toxic shock syndrome because they've not used them properly. And that's just your bare basics. You know, we can't even get the basics right. And this is something we're working with UK government and Welsh government that will keep pushing. But it has to change, because the average age now of someone starting their periods is 10. The youngest person in the UK is 7. So we're getting younger and we have to get better at supporting younger
The
people.
education, I feel, has got worse and
Worse,
worse
it's
and worse.
regressing.
Yes.
I generally think
Yeah.
feel like we're regressing.
Yes,
as a
We are
nation.
literally
It's
trying so hard as also two chronically ill people trying to push this.
Yeah.
Going all over the country, doing pitches for pilots in school,
Yeah.
creating resources, doing all these things. And a lot of it we do free of charge. We don't charge. There's no cost for schools. But it just feels like
We're
what
regressing.
what is going to be
I'm
the,
having the same problem in New.
it's tough, isn't
I
it?
live in New Pontoon Dock, and that's like a really deprived, poor area. It's really weird, Pontoon, like New. It's like one part is
I
like,
remember you telling me when we were
yeah,
chatting.
like really posh people, and then the other part is just the slums, you know. And I'm having that issue. I'm trying to like build a relationship with the council and say, look, guys, I need
It's
to come into
hard,
these schools,
it's
and it's
hard
really
work.
difficult. They're just not listening.
But that's why charities and organisations and all these different brands and businesses cease to exist, because bodies like the government, global councils, they're not doing things that should be already in place in 2025.
Guys, we could be here
I know we could be here all night.
but the time is running out. So, guys and Anna, thank you so much for coming down. Where do we find you, firstly?
We're all over, aren't we?
Oh, that sounds really speedy. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Under-
We're on TikTok now. Menstrual Health Project.
Menstrual Health
Easy
Project.
peasy.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to remain here.
Yep.
I'm going to ask Dr. Anna and Alice to come on stage. I'm going to have a quick 5 minutes Q&A because we're running out, and after the Q&A, we're going to have Tolu Muke. You guys are about to be mind blown. As I said, I'm a creative. I'm always going to be a drama kid. You probably noticed my mannerisms are like big. Everything I do is big. And every event that I put on, I'm going to have some sort of element of creativity in it, whether it's spoken word, music, because my friend's still in that space. You guys are going to hear, you're going to remember, this girl's amazing. She's only tiny, 5'5", but the voice is amazing, and she's come all the way from Ireland. So yeah, she's an Irish. So we're going to do a quick Q&A. We're going to have a little mini concert from Tolu, and then we're going to sing you Happy Birthday. All right, guys. So questions? Any questions, please? Oh yes, the lady in the red. I feel like, guys, do we have a hands-free mic?
It's okay, I can.
Okay. Yes.
First of all, Endometriosis. That's a hard one. Even though it's supposed to be in French. You're saying advocate for yourself, and from what I hear, the only medical solution to it is let's mutilate you. Which, first of all, is incredibly unfair, because if it was happening to a man, there's no way they would be like, oh, let's chop off your dick. No,
Really? Yes.
But like, I'm all for advocating, but if the answer is going to be let's chop you off, then maybe they won't.
We've
Like,
actually chopped our dicks off as well, just to let that.
Yeah. No, I think as well, like listening to both me and Gab's story, you can easily think that as well, because we were dismissed and ignored, and I think that's why we push so much for advocacy, is because if we were listened just 2 years earlier, it would have been a huge difference. Like I could still have my large bowel if they'd have listened. And I think early intervention is absolute key with endometriosis. Yes, we can't cure it, unfortunately, but early intervention and good quality medical input, so a good surgeon, so knowing who to go to. So general gynecologists actually don't know how to treat endometriosis. So you need to go to an endometriosis specialist consultant who is able to operate safely and to the guidelines and know what they're actually looking for. And I think that is why we're so pushy on kind of advocacy and education, is getting that just slightly earlier can still make a huge difference. And I think definitely you saying about kind of mutilating your body, that's how I feel looking at my body. I feel like definitely that their kind of ignorance and their dismissal has caused that. But if I've had consultants look me in the eye and say, if it was 2 years earlier, you could have saved all of that hassle. So I think it's just making sure that they know who to be sent to and who to go to, and that's why as a charity we've got all the guidelines in place and know how to ask for that referral, which pathway to go to. Would you add anything?
I think also just to say that, again, mine and Anna's cases are very, very severe, and not everyone's experiences are like that. I think what Anna and Alice touched on as well is about tracking and keeping an eye on symptoms as well. And like I said, like, don't be afraid to make a complaint and do your research, like Anna said, who you're seeing. But if you're not happy with who you've seen and the advice that they've given you, we have right to choose. You can go and see somebody else, because if you feel like they're not listening to you, that's a really, really important part, so you can ensure that you're getting better advice. And if anything, you can just give us a ring, and me and Anna can quite happily come to an appointment if you're an advocate as well. But we just want to point out that not everyone will end up having to have a hysterectomy or having to have organs removed. It's finding a medical professional that you can work with that listens to you, because informed decision making is one of the most important things. That is such a green flag in a medical professional, that they are making you part of the decision. They're not just telling you what you should do, they're asking you what you want to do from the options they have given you.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Oh, we got one more? Yes. Gonna have to shout, girl. You're right at the back.
First and foremost, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Just like keen to understand what are some of the top 3 symptoms that could be confused for just other symptoms, but that you realise that were quite, that they stand out and they identify that you have endometriosis, for instance.
You go first.
I would
So many.
I would probably say, apart from kind of heavy painful periods, because that, there's some people who have really painful periods but they're not heavy. There's some people who have long periods, short periods, and still have endometriosis. So aside from that, my biggest one looking back, like my biggest symptom was rectal bleeding cyclically. So that's kind of coming up to my period and during my period. Not all the time, I think that's really important to know, but most periods I was getting it. And it was as if somebody had shoved a knife up my back passage. It was debilitating. And knowing what I know now is that's a massive kind of red flag for rectovaginal endometriosis. But people kind of, make fun of it and go, oh, it's just but lightning pain, it'll be fine.
Lightning bug.
Yeah, but it's not, and it is something to really look out for.
I'd say cyclical erratic bowel movements, so really, really painful bowel movements during your menstrual part of your cycle. But also I found I'd get really, really horrific pelvic pain as well all the time. I mean, I still do. But pain during and after sex as well is a big red flag. And I would say if you've ever experienced, or anyone when they're younger as well, who when they're trying to put a tampon in, it's really painful to insert a tampon. That is a big red flag for a condition like endometriosis, where when you're younger, you just think, oh, they don't work for me, I can't use them. But for both me and Anna, that was a huge red flag when we were younger. And it's things that we were kind of bringing up that were issues for us, but doctors just thought, well, tampons aren't for you then.
Amazing. Guys, I have a question. I have time for one more question. Anybody else? Yes.
So mine's for Dr. Anna.
Yes.
I've been diagnosed with PMDD. Similar
girl.
story, similar
I'm
story to
sorry.
you. I was really grateful. I bumped into a gynaecologist at a pub and he said, come see me, and then diagnosed me really quickly. But I'm on a contraceptive, I'm on sertraline, and although everything is better, it's not great. Personal trainer, healthy. What's next for me? like, what would you advise I should do next? Because although I am living a better life, gladly I don't want to kill myself anymore. But I still don't feel like great. Yeah, and I know that I'm like I'm hard to be with, like hopefully Jenna understands. But yeah, I'm hard to live with at times, and I don't wanna be like this anymore.
It's like listening to myself.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us and sharing your story. Can I ask how long you've been on treatment for?
I'm coming up to about 10 months.
Okay, so you've given it a good go. Because I think sometimes when we're starting treatments and they're not working straight away, there's kind of it's propensity to try and change quite quickly. But I normally say give something if you can, 3 months or more. So you've already done that. So as I said before, not all contraceptive pills are the same. So it would depend on which one you're on. Eloin or Yaz, which contain drospirenone, tend to be slightly better accepted, better for side effects. And there are other body-similar ones like Zoli or a new one to market called Drovelis, which contain body-similar estrogens. So they do contain synthetic progestins though, and that's often a problem for women with PMDD. So the pill can be quite tricky to navigate. Although it's good at cycle suppressing, it can cause lots of other symptoms. The next steps are considering something like other hormones like hormonal replacement therapy, which can be used to cycle suppress when used at the right doses, or considering something like cyclogest.
Try cyclogest.
Which is
7
used
days
more and
before
more.
your 15
Use
days.
it, yeah, for 15 days.
And
Which
use
is
it for
actually it's a licensed treatment for PMDD. Premenstrual tension is actually what it's in the BNF
Yeah,
for.
it's
And then, I mean, we didn't have a chance to talk about the steps that you guys have been through, which is you can utilise chemical menopause with adding back HRT as an option as well, which can be very helpful. But again, lots of considerations. It needs to be very personalised.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So we're going to have to end the Q&A here. I want to thank you, ladies, so much for coming. You're amazing. Your support means a lot to me. I'm very new in this field. I'm still learning. So I asked you guys to support me as well. Follow me on social media. I'm doing my best to try and create some change. I want to actually make something very rare. As a Black woman, this journey is going to look very different than it does for my counterparts, so support really is needed. It's a lot harder for me navigating this field. So yeah, I'm gonna now ask for Tolu to come and shut it down. And if you guys want to keep up with me and what I'm doing, Celia Manuel is my name everywhere. You'll find me. Miss McKay, would you take over, ladies? Shut it down for us. Introduce yourself. Here you are.
Hello, everybody.
Woo. Hello, I need energy.
Woo. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2. Great. My name is Tolu Mackay. I am a singer, a songwriter, a performer, an actor, and I want to thank Celia for asking me to be here today. I am so proud of you for setting this up. Can we please give a round of applause to her? I think I have learned a lot that I don't, I'm still, my head is still wrapping around how much women's health is not actually advocated for at all. And then all the stories that I've heard today reminds me of the conversations I've had with friends and mothers and everyone that I know that is a woman around me, and to know that, the pain that we're going through isn't, it's not something that we just get over, it's actually something that we need help with. So thank you for that. So I have 4 songs I'll be singing for you. It is part of my EP called People Still Cry in Summer. I'm very emotional, but I think it's one of those, I'm the type of artist that I sing about my experiences, I sing about the world, and I sing about the things I need to express that I don't necessarily know how to speak about. Right now I feel like I'm a great speaker, but honestly, my emotions are written through my music, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Can we play the first song called Lonely, please? It gets lonely sometimes, even when the crowd is loud. It feels empty inside, even when you're all around. Everything just slips between my fingers. Parting waves, the ocean caves and washes me out. I'm crashing into rocks, I'm falling into holes. I am trying to find a way to survive, but everything feels numb inside my heart, and I don't know why I'm crashing into waves. I am trying to find a way so I can breathe again, but I'm burdened by this feeling of feeling everything, and I can't seem to find who will save me. Who will save me? I am lonely. Who will save me? Who will save me? Who will save me? I am lonely. Who will save me? Who will save me? I am lonely. Who will save? Who will save? I am lonely. It gets lonely sometimes, even when the crowd is loud. It feels empty inside, even when you're all around. Can you bring up the drum a little bit? Got a hold for my feelings. There's weight on my shoulder. Can't shake off this feeling. I'm craving water. I'm falling to pieces as I gasp for air. I heard you can free me. things that I've gone through within the music journey, but also I hope this message is one that you all take with you. Although I don't know all the answers yet, I'm trusting that my feet will stand firm in something that I can depend, where dreams align to get me where I see myself. Although I don't know all the answers yet, when I wish upon a star, I hope we'll get answered. 'Cause those who don't ask may not move forward. And if you don't trust, you just blame yourself. So I put my hope in this. I put my love in this. Trusting everywhere I go that it will lead me home. I put my faith in this. I put my love, 'cause my heart aches for nothing more. And so I gotta keep on going and trust that I'll be okay in every single moment. And sure, I might not even know where it is I'm going. Just need to find the road that lead me home. I gotta keep on going and trust that I'll be okay in every single moment. And sure, I might not even know where it is I'm going. Just need to find the road that lead me home. I gotta keep on going and trust that I'll be okay in every single moment. And sure, I might not even know where it is I'm going. Just need to find the road. So I put my hope in this. I put my love in this. Trusting everywhere I go that it will lead me home. I put my faith in this. 'Cause my heart aches for nothing more. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is my last song. It is called I Am. Because sometimes you have to remind yourself who you are. Don't let anybody tell you who you are. You tell yourself who you are. So I am championing for all women, for everybody to empower themselves and finding that inner voice in themselves. And I really needed to find that. And this is probably one of the most braggadocious songs I've ever made. And you'll hear it from the very first thing. It sounds like an alarm bell, but I'm like, wake up, bitches, yes. So let's follow the first one. Thank you. I told you, sound like an alarm. Hey! Come on. Okay, my name is Celia Manuel. I came to Ireland when I was 5 years old. Didn't really know much, but here I am today, making my own name and setting my own about, no matter how much people will make me wanna doubt myself, cause I'm way too contrary, because I know I'm too blessed to be stressed. I just want my peace of mind, have some fun and drink palm wine. I'm too blessed to be stressed. I don't want to live a life, let my money roll like time. Hey, hey. Yeah, so do my K, yeah, that's what you heard. I am, yeah, so do my K. Oh yeah, it's bloody exhausting. Having to tell people how much talent flows in this skin. Begrudge neighbors, reminding you to tone it down. Pick a side, you're too dramatic, now you're too quiet. Did you get in your head too? Your tone is off. What's she wearing? She's trying too much. I needed to realize that I'm the best thing that ever rose from the butt. That's why I'm way too contrary, because I know I'm too blessed to be stressed. I just want my peace of mind, have some fun and drink palm wine. I'm too blessed to be stressed. I don't want to live a lie, let my money roll like time. I am. Hey, so let me K, yeah, that's what you heard. I am. What's my name? Thank you. Yes, that's what you heard.